Hi everybody and welcome back to Northwestern Models TV, and today I'm going to show you how to put together the 00 gauge weighbridge kit from Ancorton Models. It's a laser cut kit, so it should go together pretty easily. So let's find out. Well, first things first, let's get the pack open and see what we've got inside. Looks like quite a few bits there, and a little tube which must be for the chimney. Okay, so let's see what we've got. We've got a couple of white frets, the finished picture tells you what it should look like, a sheet of instructions, always useful, and two wooden frets as well, which obviously has the walls and what looks like the chimney. So I'm just going to have a quick scan through the instructions just to see how it goes together. For myself, having never built this kit before, it looks relatively simple though, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, but I'll have a quick look through and then we can have a look at actually getting it all together. Right, I've read through the instructions and it's quite a big build really. There's a lot of components which need to be put together. But as with all kits, you've got to start somewhere, and where we start with this one is with four main sides of the actual building. And as with all laser cut kits, it's very simple to just cut them out. You may need to pass the knife through the gaps a couple of times to release them, or you may get lucky, as I have done, by just forcing it through a little bit. See front and the back. Now the two sides. That's one and the other. And it says the first task with this lot is to actually just assemble these together as one unit. So, and they all interlock together quite nicely as well. You may find you need to trim the corner joins where they actually join together, but you can see hopefully from there that it has assembled quite nicely and is actually freestanding. So obviously we need to glue this together to give it strength and make sure that it stays square. And the glue I'm going to use today is the good old Deluxe Materials Rocket Card glue. It's ideal for laser cut kits. I've used it so many times before on many of the how to build it videos, so I don't really need to go into too much detail with it, but I'm going to build up two sides at a time and then glue them together in the middle. So let's get playing with the glue. You shouldn't need a vast amount just to get it started. Remembering that we just want to get it together first, and you can always add a bit more glue afterwards. And as I have mentioned many times before, this glue is relatively quick drying, is pretty strong as well, so you don't need a vast amount of it, just enough to do the job. It is a little bit runny, but that's fine because it means it gets into all the joins quite nicely. So that's the back side. That's front side. As you can see, the front piece is already pretty well glued together. So once the other one is there, we can actually see about sticking it all together. And the advantage of having a cutting mat with squares on also means that you can line up 90-degree corners on buildings, so that you get the actual building nice and square, because you can just line up the edges with the lines and just hold it for a couple of minutes or so. And just got one more to do, and then you'll be able to set it to one side while we cut some more bits out. So that's those. That's 3 out of 4 done. So the last one is there. Right. So I'm going to pop that over there and straighten it all up so it's nice and square, and then I'll just leave that to dry for a mini moment while we get on with the next part of it, which is the base parts. So we've got a couple of base strips and sides for across the front and along the ends, and most certainly that one of them will require being cut because it forms for the doorway in the building, so we're going to make sure that they're cut back a bit as well. But let's just get the parts out first. Again, just poking them out. I'll need a bit more of that one. That's right, that was a part flying on the floor somewhere. Doesn't usually happen, that. There we are, rescued off the floor. And that's one of the short ones. Out of the way and just clean up the edge of that one. That's the one that pinged all over the place. Right, so let's just quickly reread the instructions. Glue the long decorative stone strips part 6 to the base along of the long walls, and glue the shorter ones to the base of the short walls. Trim to fit around the door. Right, so the long ones, which are part 6, will go across the length, the long side, and the shorter ones, obviously, against the shorter side. And we must remember, as I said, to make sure that we cut that doorway one clear. So, to do this, I'm just going to pop it on its side and do a trial run, just to see how it fits. And the long one is exactly the same length as the wall, so that's fine. So I'll glue along that edge and then stick it on, lining it up with the bottom. I have a feeling this is where some pegs could come in really handy. I do have pegs. Pegs are always useful, because you can peg it and it'll hold it where you want it while the glue goes off, and while you do the other side. So yeah, so you might at this point want to go and raid the peg bag, unless, like me, you've got your own set of dedicated modelling pegs, i.e. ones that you bought just for modelling, so they get covered in glue and everything. they are really useful things to have, and you wouldn't necessarily think of it as a tool to be used. But there we are. So I'm going to let those dry for a minute, and then I'll do the two sides. Right, so we're now down to the door arch, the doorway side, and just rereading through the instructions while that lot was setting, I thought perhaps it's going to be best to actually fit the door arch piece in first, and then make the base stonework to fit the arch. I think it's just going to be an easier way, so that's how I'm going to do it. So just cut that out there. So obviously that'll fit on there. Sounds like somebody's sneezing next door. So again, a little bit of glue on there. Each leg. And then glue that in place. Let's line it all up. Should be good to go. Because now we can see where we're going to need to cut these bits of stonework, and I can see there that he says as he drops it on the floor, we could if it'll fit better the other way. Yes, I think we'll go that way around. So, I'll just grab a pencil or implement of some sort, and I'm just going to mark out the ones that I want to cut out, because that way I know I've got the right ones there. So, down the gap by the laser that's been used with a laser cutter, I'm just going to work the knife. Might have to try and cut it if it'll go. There we go. Yeah, get so far. And again with the knife, if you've got a small fret saw, you could probably get away with using that, which may be a little bit easier than using a craft knife, admittedly, but it seems to be going fairly easily, as you can see. So that's now scrap. Right, let's glue those bits on, and then we're back to the rest of the plans as intended. Glue on there, glue on that one. Glue that one on, and same for the other side, which is of course a really little one. Right, now then, whilst that is set to one side, we can now look at the next parts, which is actually a lot of the cornerstones which go around the edges of the building. And we just need to make sure that we get part 23 next to the doorway. Now it's especially part 23 because they've designed it so it's got a cut back on it to accommodate the gap for the doorway. It does show that quite clearly. So to save confusion, I would suggest doing that one first. And I think the others, yes, all the others are parts 22, so they can all just go as intended. So you should be able to, like, see, cut it out fairly easily, and then you should be able to bend it about 90 degrees or so. If you bend it, very carefully just bend it back on itself, it will fold along the lines, and then bring it back to 90. It should be okay, so you get a nice square joint, and then that should fit quite nicely on there, which it does. So let's bang the glue on. Again, not using vast quantities of it because we don't need to. I'll just pop it on and just press it into place, because again, this not only adds a bit of decorative detail to the building, but it also adds a little bit of strength to the corner joints. So once you've done that one, you can go along and do the other cornerstones. There's also the sills and the tops of the window frames to do. So I'll put this on time lapse so you don't hear me wittering about it, and I'll get all those bits done. Right, so now I've got all the sills and cornerstones on and top brickwork, and it looks, you know, pretty nice. I'm quite pleased with how that's gone together. So I'm just going to leave that to one side for a bit. So the next job is to assemble the chimney. Which is on its own little fret, and it's easy enough. Again, you just build it all up and connect up the brickwork as best you can, and it should slot together fairly easily, and be fairly obvious where each component goes, as it's a slightly thinner wood that they've used for these parts. It's cutting a bit easier. So obviously you need to make sure that the shorter brick piece goes to the shorter side of the side pieces, because they do have a little taper on them, which you may or may not quite be able to see there, but if you've bought the kit you'll be able to see it. And obviously the longer one then goes to the long side, so it's straightforward enough for you to do. So let's get the glue out and start putting this together. It is fiddly, but it's going to look really nice at the end of it. Important thing is, don't try and rush it, just take your time. Let's do it bit by bit and it'll come together. Hopefully without falling apart in the process. Right, that's one on the side. Which way round does that go? That is going to go... I had it right the first time. That way around. It's always worthwhile just double checking where the bits go, where the parts go, to get the best fit, let's say. I think that goes that way. So let's try other side now. Ooh. Like I've said, this bit is fiddly, but is doable. And it's one of those that once it's all together, it'll be alright. I guess really the trick is to just, like I say, just take your time with it. Don't try and rush it all or anything, just put it together. So now I've got glue virtually all around my little chimney stack, which hopefully you can sort of see there. I'm going to leave that to one side for a minute or so, just while I cut out the other two parts of it, which is the top pieces of it. And I should be able to glue the actual chimney pot itself on the top. So that's now scrap. That is said chimney pot. So that will attach to there, and then that onto the big piece, onto the actual chimney itself. So you got small onto large, and then on top of that you then have the actual chimney pot itself. So it is, the actual chimney pot itself is a small bit of plastic tube, so I don't quite know how well it's going to take to the rocket card glue, but we'll stick it on anyway for now. It might be one of those, I may, if it has a habit of falling off, I may replace it, the glue, with something like some Yoo-hoo or some super glue or something like that at a later stage. Right, whilst the chimney is drying, let's have a look at the next bit. Fold and glue the roof, parts 9 together, as shown in figure 6. So the roof is this big piece here. It's all done for us, so let's chop that out and see if we can fold it together. You will also notice that we have the window frames here as well. Now it's said not to fit those just yet, but I have a feeling we're going to be fitting them soon. So anyway, folding the roof together. Quite simple, as we did with the Cornerstones, just fold along the fold lines, which are there, fold it right back on itself so it's got a good fold on it, and then you should be able to have made yourself a nice little roof. So let's just double check. Roof part 9 together. Alright, so we want then the ridge tiles, which is parts 12 and 13, to the roof before. Okay, interesting. So, glue the roof. Right, so it has to glue the roof first. So, on the inside, on that open edge, bead of glue down there, and as it's a card based material, this rocket card glue is ideal for it. So again, just hold that together as best you can. Let the glue do its job. It should be more or less ready to rock and roll. Right, again, just leave that to one side for the glue to go off while I cut out the ridge tiles. It says here, glue the ridge tiles, which is parts 12 and 13, to the roof. Trim each strip to fit and use spare tiles to fill in the apex corners, as shown by the arrow in figure 7. So, I think first of all, let's just get them cut out, and folded as well, because again, these will add a bit of strength to the roof. Those. I'll worry about actually cutting them to size in a little while. So I think I'd like to let that roof dry out a bit more first. So I'm just putting a fold on the ridge tiles, just working my way down it, knowing that we're going to have to cut these at some different lengths and then add the extras in at the end. So one, now for the other. So whilst I do that, I can read the next instruction. Glue in the windows, parts 8 and 14, setting them back slightly, as shown in figure 8. Okay, that's easy enough to do. So we can do that and then come back to fitting these to the roof and also finishing the chimney. Right. So parts 8 and 14, which is the windows, window frames, let's cut them out and get them fitted out of the way. Which again should be an easy task, he says. Usually means that it won't be. So because the window frames need to be set back, I'm just going to glue inside the hole that they go in to, all the way around. I'm starting with the big one first, because I think it's going to be easier to show. So I'm actually going to put it in from behind, which is also why they've not suggested to put the roof on yet, I would imagine. So you can put it in, line it up, and then just ease it into place, and the glue will then hold it. It's a snug fit, I will say that much. It is definitely a snug fit, but hopefully you can see there that it's in. So it's not difficult, it is a snug fit, but it's in, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'll do the same with the little window on the end. I suppose really once you've got these in, if you wanted to, you could add some clear plastic behind them as well, as some sort of glazing, because that's the one thing that's missing from the kit, is some glazing to make the glass up. There we go. That's the end one on. So we've got the two windows in there now. Right, back to the chimney. Right, my chimney stack has now dried pretty well, so I'm just going to glue the top to stick the actual top piece with the actual chimney pot on, and then that's that piece all made up. So there we are, so we have one finished chimney stack complete with pot. Now I need somewhere to put that so it dries vertically, or as near to vertical as possible. So I've got my handy little vise, so I'm just not going to squeeze it in there, I'm just going to set it in there to just hold it just while the glue goes off, and hope that I don't accidentally knock it with my elbow. Right then, so on to the ridge tiles. Fairly simple. If you've built any of the Metcalfe kits, this job will be familiar. Quite simply, glue the tiles onto the roof and cut the rest of the ends off and just build it all up. So I'll do that again on the time lapse because it's a bit quicker for the video length, and then we can see about getting it all together towards the end. So I've now got the roof all done, the ridge tiles on, and you have to make up the apex ones out of some of the ridge tile pieces. So I just used 2 single ridge tiles and stuck them over the end, so it looks pretty reasonable. I think once it's been painted and weathered up, that should be okay. So we're nearly at the end of the construction of this now, you'll be probably glad to know. Basically it is to glue on the roof and the decorative barge boards. So let's see how it goes. So to glue the roof to the body, I'm actually going to glue the main building piece first, and then just drop the roof on top and centre it, as it's going to be easier than trying to figure out whereabouts the roof sits on the inside of the roof, and you think, let's just make our lives easy, so pop that on there, and seems to have gone quite well actually straight away, which is pretty good. So just hold it down for a minute, just let the glue grab it, because it is only a little building, so it's not going to take much. And what we can do is the good old trick of, whilst it's got an open back, see if we can add a bit more glue in anywhere. Just to help hold the roof on. Just a couple of bits in there just to help it. I think that back one's just going to want to keep on popping up. So now we've got the roof on, as it says, the next bit is to what was it? Oh yes, put the barge boards on. Now they're the pieces which go all the way around the outside underneath the roof, so they go in that gap there, so they go between the roof and the wall of the building. So that'll be the next job, and once that glue has grabbed that, which I think it might just about have done now, or not. Tell you what, I've got an elastic band. An elastic band, or just not quite tight enough, that one. Let's have a look. Yep. So plastic band there just to hold the roof in situ just while the glue goes off a bit. And whilst that's doing that, I can get these bard boards freed from the fret. Where did that go? I have absolutely no idea where that one just disappeared to. Okay, let's get the next one out and hopefully that one doesn't fly off somewhere. Oh, so there's one. 2, 3, steady. 4. Yeah, I'll have to go hunting for that other short one. It did literally just ping off and I have no idea. Oh, there it is. It's there. Little worrying then, wondering where that had gone. Right. Right. So whilst I've got the elastic band around the middle, I'll glue the end bard boards on first. Like I say, you're not going to need much glue up there. It's just to help them sit in there. So it sits on the end, like so. So you can just see the bardboard pieces are these ones here with the little teeth sort of stepping down. So glue them in under each end, and then I can do the across the front and around the back. Make sure it's right in there. Let's get this wacky band off. I should have it held in place by now. And we can do these side ones. Just clean the end of that, because it's getting a bit horrible. Right. That's better. I have to glue Fleming a bit more. So I'm hoping you can see that overall this has been actually quite simple and actually a very enjoyable build. I've enjoyed making this. Yes, and it is, you know, simple enough. You just follow the instructions and you'll soon have it made up. And think, you know, so far it's not taken me too long, perhaps maybe 40 minutes or an hour or something. I'm not actually 100% sure, but it's, like I said, it's been an enjoyable build. You do get some kits and they're a right pig to bake, and they're not then an enjoyable build, and I think that's not really good, that is it? But no, this one's pretty nice. I'm pretty pleased with it. So I think we're very nearly there. So we need to glue the chimney on, and oh, we've got the door as well yet. So let's see if we can put our chimney on, and the chimney pot has so far survived. So the chimney needs to go on the back wall somewhere. You may need to trim the back piece so that it sits in a bit nicer, so I'm just going to do that now. I don't know why they've made it a little bit long, they just did. But it does say in the instructions you can trim it back, and it's not too difficult to do. So let's see about gluing that on in a suitable position. So we want to make sure it's not right on the edge, we've got to make sure it's in a little bit. So about there somewhere. And it's literally going wherever it's just landed. I've not measured it out from the front, or really from behind. But that is now on there. It's a little bit crooked, but it's on. It can be old, so it's sort of falling down a bit. That's my excuse. It's old. Yeah, so we've now got our chimney on. I won't pick it up just yet because it'll probably fall off. And then the last piece to go in is the door, which you can put in any position that you like, it says. So, I have a door. It's even got a little slot for a letterbox, or a mark for a letterbox. And for mine, I think I might have it slightly open. Maybe. Might have it slightly open. Or I might just have it shut. I think having it shut is going to be the easier option, and probably for the longevity of the building. So obviously this will be going out to exhibitions and so on when we're allowed to do them again. It'll might survive a bit better, but let's just see. So that just needs a bit of glue on the inside of there, perhaps on the door frame itself would be a good one. Again, doors can be fiddly to do, especially if you want them in an open position. So for the ease, like I said, I'll model this one in the closed position. And just put a little bit of extra glue around the back, just to help give it a bit of strength. So that is that made up. Now, the observant among you will have noticed that we have one last piece on the fret, which of course is the actual weighbridge itself. So obviously that just needs cutting out, the fret, and then the actual weighbridge would sit just in front of the cabin, about there somewhere. And that is that build finished. So there we are, that's how to put together the 00 gauge weighbridge hut from Ancorton Models. It's been a very enjoyable build actually, I've really enjoyed putting it together, as I do with a lot of the laser cut kits that they produce. So yeah, get yourself one, have a go. They're ideal for goods yards, coal yards, on your model railway, and even these days you still find the occasional one that was still left hanging around after the railway's long gone, so you could still make use of this lovely little kit. So anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to give us a good old thumbs up. Also, do make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well, to make sure you don't miss out on any of our other how to make it videos or our goods shed blogs, where we show off the latest products which have come in to the store. So until next time, happy modelling.